Hey, what's happening? It's Bill Smith. My last video, I gave you a way to contact me. I kind of vented some stuff. I just don't have as much time, and I can't continue to put the same amount of effort into these videos anymore. I'll do what I can going forward, but really I'm ready to move on to something bigger in my life. And what I want to do is I want to create a group of people who can work together. I would like to empower other YouTubers, and that video was just step one in the process. I have a couple ways I think that we can get involved more closely. I can find a way to help out the community. We can build a better research group with some kind of like centralized leadership, although I don't really want to be the leader. I'll tell you that 100% straight up. I don't want to be the head of the snake. I think decentralized is the way to go. I want to defeat YouTube. I think right now is a really dangerous time for them, and I think we can hold them accountable for all the choices that they've made in the last year. They've already lost $67 billion by keeping information away from you. It affected their growth pattern, so it affected their stock price. Get woke, go broke. So before I go any further, I want to talk about John Roberts. He was in the flight manifest for Jeffrey Epstein. That is true. Now, I don't know if it's Chief Justice John Roberts, but it sure makes a hell of a lot of sense, seeing as he was the one who was the swing vote in upholding the health care reform that we know as Obamacare. He also ruled later that said Obamacare was not a tax. Sorry, it was a tax, not a mandate. So we live in a free society. You can't force people to buy a private product. That's exactly what they did. I cannot believe this went through. He was the swing vote. He's the Chief Justice. This is John Roberts flying on the Lolita Express from Palm Beach International down in Florida, where Jeffrey Epstein's mansion was, up to New Jersey. All right, now real quick. He was the swing vote. The other 4 people who voted for this stuff are all Jewish. Some people are aware that we had 3 Jewish people on the Supreme Court, but most people are not aware that there are 4 of them. 4. All 4 liberal justices are Jewish. All 4 of them, including Sotomayor, the Hispanic woman, quote unquote, because her mother was Jewish. We have 4 Jewish Supreme Court justices. All they need is a swing vote. They got this guy on the Lolita Express. That's how they got him to swing vote. The rest is history. Now you got to buy Obamacare. Moving on. All right, now on to the fun stuff. Who the hell is Larry Celona? Who is this guy? Writing for the New York Post for almost 22 years. Look at the stuff he writes about. All day long. All kinds of weird stuff. He breaks every major story of either a false flag or a deep state loose end being tied up. He's the one, watch this. He was the first to report on Jeffrey Epstein's quote-unquote suicide. Odd stuff, right? Let's see what else he's involved in. This stuff, I'm sure you've seen this already. See this picture right here that everybody's been talking about with Epstein? Is it him? Is it not? The nose doesn't match. The ear doesn't match. I don't know. The cameras are off. No one can tell. The guards were asleep. Whatever. He's got a broken neck. Whatever. There his name is right there. Photos show Jeffrey Epstein as he's wheeled into downtown hospital. So they didn't cover up the body. They're still trying to resuscitate it for some reason, even though he's got a broken neck and he hung himself, by Larry Celona. There it is right there. These are loose ends being tied up. Here he is reporting on a 9/11 first responder killing himself after he battled with lung disease. There's his name is right there. More stuff from earlier this year. Did a secret offer to the mob avenge this DEA agent's death by Larry Celona. Some of you may remember this. A guy just randomly drank some wine and jumped off the roof of this hotel by Larry Celona. This happened late last year. This was a really weird story. I could never figure out what had happened with this. Now it seems really suspicious. Here's a loose end being tied up from a tech founder who didn't want to play the game. Apparently died of a drug OD. Now this is important. Remember the drug overdosing. Supposedly this guy exists and he lives in New York, but I'm not even sure if this is a real person. I think it might be a euphemism that they just tag articles from the New York Post with to show the rest of the world in code, in secret, that loose ends are being tied up. Here's another loose end that was tied up. This woman was on TV, Desperate Housewives or something, or Real Housewives of New York. This guy was found dead in Trump Tower. That seemed odd to me. Again, by Larry Celona. Lately, Larry Celona has been talking about New York City cops killing themselves. This has been kind of on my radar. I think there's been 10 high-profile New York City cop deaths recently. Some of this might tie in to the frazzle drip stuff. But I imagine the frazzled.rip file is not the only thing that made these cops sick to their stomach. Here's more stuff from Larry just out in the last couple days. More stuff about suicidal cops. Don't effing do it. Now, what's interesting is sometimes he's just mentioned as a byliner. I don't think that he always writes these. Like I said, I'm not even sure it's a real person. I'll show you the picture of who they say it is, but it could just be a euphemism for Royal Lancer. Royal Lancer. So I think that if this guy is not real, they use the word Larry Celona, an anagram for Royal Lancer, to show you that someone's been lanced. Someone has been taken out of the game. They've tied up a loose end. They've put the risk to bed. Here's an article from last year about a cross-welding hobo who robbed a bank claiming he's Captain America. Now, there's a lot of stuff that you could take out of that. You got banks, you got Captain America, and down here, if you look down here, you got the name Hilton for hotels, and you got 33. All right, so a lot of good stuff in here. More on bank robberies. All right, now here's where it gets interesting. Rupert Murdoch, this guy, owns the New York Post, and Rupert Murdoch is on the board of directors for Genie Energy. And Genie Energy is who just got all the oil rights for the Golan Heights over there in Israel, which the United States just recognized Israel's sovereignty over. Who else is on that board? Well, you got Dick Cheney, Jacob Rothschild, James Woolsey, the ex-CIA director, a Wall Street trader named Michael Steinhardt, Larry Summers, the ex-head of the U.S. Treasury, and Bill Richardson, the ex-U.S. Energy Secretary, who I believe also served as governor of New Mexico, who sold Jeffrey Epstein the Zorro Ranch. So here's a map of where the Zorro Ranch is. This is some bad stuff, man. This is some bad stuff. Now check this out. If you go just a little up the river there, this is where they had that Islamic camp where they found all those kids, and then they let them off the hook and they wouldn't prosecute them. So that happened just up the river from where Zorro Ranch is. And people are saying maybe Zorro Ranch has got some human hunting ground on it. It's totally isolated. It butts up against reservations and reserves. And one interesting thing I haven't talked about is that there was a solar observatory in New Mexico that was shut down recently, and people are saying that it's possible they were using the antennas at that observatory, that scientific observatory. They were using the antennas there to broadcast all kinds of nasty stuff, including child pornography, could be hunting videos. It could be a live stream of things that were happening at the Zorro Ranch. All that stuff makes sense. It's all possible at this point. It's all plausible in my mind. I don't have any proof yet, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this, but I want to put this on your radar. Zorro Ranch, Bill Richardson, ex-governor of New Mexico, sold this to Jeffrey Epstein. He's on the board of directors with Genie Energy, who now gets oil drilling rights in the Golan Heights with Jacob Rothschild and Rupert Murdoch. Rupert Murdoch owns the New York Post, and Larry Celona has written for the New York Post for 22 years, and he writes about high-profile suicides and loose ends being tied up. Supposedly, this is a picture of Larry Celona. Maybe he exists, maybe he doesn't, maybe this is the guy, maybe it's not. I don't know. But he is only mentioned on 2 movies on IMDb, This is one of them, called The Perfect Murder. This is the other movie, Eyes Wide Shut by Stanley Kubrick. You cannot make it up. So Stanley Kubrick was murdered, suicide, killed after he released this movie. It had all kinds of crazy stuff in there. It blew the whistle on everything that's been happening. It was basically filmed at the Rothschild estate. Here's his name in the credits as a journalistic advisor. I'd also like to bring your attention to the medical advisor, C.J. Shiner, M.D., Ph.D. Now here's Shiner on IMDb, on Eyes Wide Shut, and they call him miscellaneous crew, which is factually incorrect because I just showed you that he's considered a medical advisor on that movie. Which is strange because he's got a book on Amazon written in 1996 called The Encyclopedia of Erotic Literature. So put that into context with Eyes Wide Shut, the movie. Everything they did in that movie. All the stuff that Kubrick was trying to show us. Now, why is this important? In the movie, Tom Hanks reads a newspaper from the New York Post, and the front cover of the newspaper says, "Lucky to be alive." He reads an article titled "Ex-Beauty Queen in Hotel Drugs Overdose" by Larry Celona. There's his name right there. Okay, so Kubrick put him in the movie as an actual author who talked about tying up loose ends. Then he lists him in the credits for the movie. People who have studied this movie have pointed out lots of different odd things that Kubrick embedded in this. To the casual observer, the stuff will all go unnoticed. But a deeper look shows things like numerous sentences being repeated. Phrases such as, quote, "Hotel security personnel after her agent asked them to check on her. At the time she ingested the drugs. And she has many important friends in the fashion and entertainment world." They're all printed twice, emphasizing the non-naturalistic dream landscape of the film. Kubrick has designed this sequence that I'm showing you right now in such a way that the shot is not on the screen long enough for most viewers to spot the repetition. It is only 10 seconds long. This is another example of how mysteriously the film operates. More odd stuff. Check this out. If you go to the Merriam-Webster dictionary and you look up the word kaboom, what do you see? You see his name again, Larry Celona. To explode or crash violently. When the house exploded the night before, cops believed it had been a drug factory that went kaboom. By Larry Celona and Ruth Brown. Okay, so it's odd that Kubrick would put this guy in the film. It's possible he never even worked on the film. He just got him into the credits. And then he wrote about a real-life journalist from a real-life Rupert Murdoch Fox News-owned newspaper, didn't change his name, kept him exactly the way it was in real life, and then put him in this movie called Eyes Wide Shut. Now, there's all kinds of stuff attached to Eyes Wide Shut. Nicole Kidman's dad, the Australian, was a psychologist, and he was supposedly involved in all kinds of stuff. He got outed in a pedophile ring maybe 10 years ago, and then while he was being charged, he fled to Hong Kong, I think, and then while he was there in a hotel, he died on a treadmill of a quote-unquote heart attack. That's Nicole Kidman's dad. Okay? That's some crazy stuff. So, people have pointed out that what this guy does is they say that the person who ever killed themselves, the person who committed suicide, was in good spirits. And that seems to be the big signal, is to write a story about someone who commits suicide and then tell the people in the article that they were in great spirits, which people in great spirits don't commit suicide. So that's the signal. Larry Celona, the Royal Lancer, was the only person to get this shot and write about Jeffrey Epstein's quote-unquote suicide. The picture was taken by a man named William Farrington, and if you go look up William Farrington on Wikipedia, he's like this historical figure. I'm out of time for now, though. I hope you got something out of this. Leave your comments. Till next time, this is Bill Smith. Thanks for watching.